Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Two Dudes, One Car. Parker, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
No. Thank you for coming. Honestly, I would not be able to make the trip to your side of town every single Friday. Thank you.
We used to live 5 minutes apart. Now we live a solid 2 hours.
And this is when we decided to work together. We were like, you know what? Now that we live 2 hours away from each other, we should start collaborating every week together.
The things we do for love.
We're so brilliant. We're so freaking brilliant. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much. Guys, the feedback has been incredible.
It has been.
The reviews on all of the podcast platforms are great. Thank you so much. Don't forget that we're on Spotify, Apple, on iTunes, on Google Cast. We're also on Amazon. We're on all sorts of podcast platforms that you can possibly imagine.
Apparently on Apple, we're like 47th in Italy in the comedy.
By the way, it keeps changing all the time.
Yeah,
and it keeps adding. And
I'm trying to peak in rom-com. Like, how do we change genres?
There's a lot of countries where we're top 20, top 40
really
in comedy. And I'd say I'll take it. Comedy's
100%.
hard, man.
100%.
I'll take it. So thank you everyone for the support. And if you guys didn't know this, just find it on your favorite podcast platform and you'll find us right there. So let's get started.
Yeah.
Last week, or the weeks before, I know we've been talking a lot about electric cars.
I know people are going to be like, is this the electric car podcast?
It is not. It's the electric podcast.
There's just a lot of good news coming out right now for electric cars.
I would say so. I think electric car makers are the ones at least trying to push the hardest.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting the noise out,
100%.
right? And I feel like even traditional brands are doing that. We're going to talk on your podcast about, for example, the Charger.
Yeah.
That is a project. But we just saw Rivian, which I know I'm a Rivian shill, and I'm not ashamed of it. I think it's doing pretty well.
I mean, I got to give a huge shout out to him. Like 2 podcasts ago, he's like, I think Rivian's a buy right now. 30% later, we're happy.
Take it, baby.
But yeah, I knew they were going to unveil something,
yeah.
but I did not know it was going to be this good.
Oh, no one, by the way, no one expected that, right?
Yeah.
So we knew the R2 was coming out March 7th, and we were all very excited. And the event goes on, and this was my experience. I was at the bank opening some bank account for something that we're doing, and I'm stuck there, and I'm getting messages from Sergio and Rod, are you checking out the Rivian announcement? This is going on. I'm like, fuck. I am stuck right here. There's nothing I can do, but I'm going to take a sneak peek at Twitter. So I go on Twitter and I start looking at it, and they have the R2. Super cool car, very expected.
Yep.
It's a smaller version of their SUV, right? And it starts at $45,000. They're going to have a dual motor, tri-motor car, and obviously with incentives, he's going to put it in Model Y, Model 3 type of a space.
They did a reveal the way you should do a reveal. Like the other podcasts, we were like, McLaren's coming out with something new. And then they were like, oh, it's a convertible version of a car we've already seen. And then Rivian is like, okay, we know the R2's coming. And they go, but wait, we got an R3.
There's more.
Yeah. And that R3X, I'd buy one. Legitimately. That thing is so cool. The dish wheel, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. It's going to be affordable for the performance.
I am so excited.
It's so sick.
So I'm not lying. I'm not lying when I say this. Obviously, you guys know I'm an investor in it. So obviously, I have a personal interest in Rivian doing well. Other than that, I also own a Rivian. I really like the brand. I've been very lucky that I've known them since inception.
Yeah.
And
I remember seeing videos from you, I think at the LA Auto Show back in the day. And you seemed really tight with them.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the company was.
Yeah.
And they made a good splash when they started, but I think this new gen of cars is going to take them to the next level.
And that's the thing, right? Because when all these electric car companies come out, it's very similar, all the stuff that they release.
Yeah.
Tesla has done an incredible job at releasing different tiers of cars. And they started with the big boy cars, Model S, Model X, and then they decided that, you know what, we need to get our mass market cars, Model 3, Model Y, killed it, and now they're getting into a smaller model for everybody. Rivian has this announcement. They tell us all, by the way, we're going to do the R2. And it was so strange to me because this SUV is beautiful.
Yep.
It looks just like the RS1, but smaller.
Mm-hmm.
The back window lowers down. It's like a Jeep at the same time that it's a Bronco,
Yeah.
at the same time that it's a Rivian, without losing the look. Like it looks almost identical. Interior would be what you would expect in a Rivian, which is premium for what they do. The price point, again, $45,000. That's pretty good. They're going to start deliveries 2026 out of their Illinois plant, which is the original one. Another great thing that they did is they cut out their plans to build the other $2.5 billion plant that they were doing. So
Interesting.
That means they're going to have way more money, less debt, and expenses come down.
Can the R2 have the interior that R3 has? Because this is your words, not mine. They had a Singer-esque interior, and it's got these holes in it, kind of like a Ford GT, and it's got this. I don't know. It's so good.
I want to get to the R3. So they revealed the R2, and no one saw it coming. And they go, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
They open the curtain, comes the R3, which is a even smaller version of the R2. But this one looks different.
Yeah.
Now, this one starts looking like and a lot of people are going to take this negatively, and I don't know what your relationship with these cars is, if any. But to me is, when I saw the Gremlin, like the old Gremlin in Mexico, that's like a classic. When I was a kid, we all used to like be on the lookout for a Gremlin. If you saw a Gremlin, you would hit your friend because we thought it was the ugliest, coolest car. It's like kind of having a bulldog.
Yeah.
A bulldog is an ugly motherfucker, but he's at the same time so gorgeous because of the personality and because of how ugly it is.
I don't think anything about the R3 is ugly.
I don't think so either, but I don't think it has like that standard beautiful.
Yeah. It's more rugged. It feels like a purpose-built. It looks the best in the R3X off-road spec. It feels like it was meant to be that.
So again,
Bronco competitor off-road.
What is the R3X? So that people know, because they announced the R3, which is the smaller version of this. What is the R3X?
As far as I know, the R3X is the higher performance version of the R3. So
and what does it look
like? It's like 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. It looks like really rugged. They've got optional like dish wheels that look like they should be on a super high-end luxury sedan, like a Maybach or something, but they're on a off-road car, and it's fast, and it's gonna be sub $100,000, I would imagine, for sure.
Oh, dude, this is gonna be so cheap because this is the cheapest car that they make, right? So they have the $45,000 car, the R3 platform. They're saying, rumor has it, that it's gonna start at $35,000 before incentives.
Wow.
And think about the incentive is $7,500. So you're talking about a $30,000 car all in.
If you're thinking that versus a Model 3, just based on looks alone, you're going.
So I want to ask you,
you're going R3 all the way.
What do you think as far as the product line with looks from Rivian compared to Tesla?
I think they've gone more creative.
Yes.
They still look similar from car to car.
Yeah.
But the R3X does look different enough from the R1S and R1T. For whatever reason, I wasn't super. I like everything about the R1S and R1T, but it didn't make me want to buy it immediately.
Yeah.
When I saw the R3X, I went, no, like that. I would buy that and drive that.
Yeah.
And I need that.
And I think that's what's interesting. So, number one, because I got one of the first Rivians, the first R1T, I got an email saying, because I was going to put an order in, but I was at the, like I said, I was at the bank for hours and I couldn't do anything. And I saw Sergio goes, I already placed my pre-order, you know.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Damn you, Sergio.
He splurged with a $100 deposit. So I was like, damn, I'm going to be the last one to get this thing. So I got home and I started doing other stuff. And while I'm doing other stuff, I get an email from Rivian. And they're like, well, you were one of the first idiots to trust us. So we want to give you a chance at first delivery on the R2. Do you want one?
That's a nice way of treating your first customers.
What do you think about that? Because I think...
No, that's genius, because I was one of the first idiots to get the Model S Plaid, and they don't go, hey, would you like your Cybertruck earlier? Or, hey, would you like a spotted line on the Roadster? They're like, yeah, but absolutely not.
But no car maker does that. A lot of people think, like, for
Yeah,
example,
absolutely.
Oh, Ferrari takes care of their clients. Like, nah, dude. Even their top clients are fighting over who gets what car.
100%.
And this is something that I really... it's so simple, right? Like, you're just thinking about customer service. You want to reward those who believed in you before.
It makes sense.
And I thought that was a genius move by them. So obviously, when I got that email, I was like, you know what?
Do you send that to Sergio?
I'll
You're like,
take
"Yeah,
it."
Fuck you, Sergio. I'm mad at you again.
I did, but I posted. But here it is, Sergio. It's the truth. And yeah, go ahead. Are you gonna say something? Okay.
What happened to Sergio's mic?
Yeah, we need to get You need to get yourself a mic. This is getting ridiculous.
Just pause real quick. I'll throw it on. It'll take me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna pause and get Sergio a mic.
Alrighty, boys. We're
SWAT
back.
team busts through the window.
We are. Wait. We are back.
We're back, boys.
All right.
We're
Sergio,
back.
Sergio now has a microphone. What were we asking you that we required the microphone? Do you even remember?
No clue.
I certainly don't.
Excellent. Me either.
Well, I'll be here if it pops up.
This is a tradition, though, on the show, so
Yeah.
it's good that we're forgetting. So, no, we were saying that I got the email, and I was like, here you go, Sergio, for the R2.
It's about time you get something first.
Honestly.
Hey!
Honestly. Then I texted my friend that is involved in Rivian last night. I'm like, dude, honestly, congratulations to the team. You guys killed it, whatnot. And I hope to see you soon whenever you're back in LA. And he goes, I am back in LA. When are you going to come back to LA? I was like, I don't live in Texas anymore. And he goes, what? We're actually throwing a Rivian party at my house. I was like, no.
So you couldn't make it?
No. Well, no. By the way, I was in bed. It was already
It
late.
was 4 p.m.
It was already 4:30, which is my bedtime. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm like, when are you leaving? 6 a.m. I was like, fuck. Missed it. Either way. So missed the party.
Sergio will send me text at like 8:45 p.m. He's like, so sorry for the late text. I'm like, dude, I stay up till like 12 or 1. And it's because you literally go to bed at like 2:45 p.m.
I go
I'm
to
used
bed
to dealing with him.
latest 8 p.m. and people
Really?
can't believe it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I reply back to everyone like I don't also want to be like a pain in the ass at 4 in the morning. But
Yeah.
I'll reply. I don't know why I think 5 is decent. Like
Yeah.
so I'll reply
Never
at 5.
ever text me.
Not at 4, but I do. It's a problem.
No, I've got my thing on do not disturb. You can text me whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, I see. Good for you. That's the way to go. So either way, going back to the Rivian thing, they say the R2 is going to come out 2026,
Okay.
but there's no dates for the R3. Now, I do believe that the hype from the R3X might make that process faster.
I hope so.
Because I legitimately, everyone I see online is obsessed with it. Obsessed. At a level that I haven't seen in a long time. And I think they need to capitalize on it. Why let that go? So they're offering now like a really cool series, a really cool different tiering of cars. And now, this is something I want to put to you, I want to put on the table. Because we were talking about Apple buying Rivian last week.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think I'm saying that because I'm hopeful that Rivian's not going to go bankrupt and Apple's going to come in and save it. No. Rivian's going to do great no matter what happens. But I do think the fact that they came out with these two cars, that they surprised us with the R3, that they even surprised us even more with the R3X, is copying a recipe of something I've seen before. I consider myself extremely lucky because I've been able to be in different situations where I get to see the car market and car companies come from nothing and become monsters, right? Like in a way, we shared that with Rivian, with Rimac.
Yeah.
So been in really lucky places in that. And one of the places that I was at was seeing how Geely, the Chinese company, invested or bought over 50% of the stake in Lotus. And the way Lotus got that done was they grabbed like $700 million of the last money that they had. And they went and created all this lineup of brand new cars that looked insane and fun and stuff that you would want. Whereas Lotus had always had some like,
Yeah.
not always, but you wouldn't say that Lotus has a hard time selling cars.
I think they do.
I think so too.
Yeah. But I agree. The Amira and the Avaya were a pretty cool brand rejuvenation.
So here comes Lotus, $700 million. They create all these brand new prototypes, and then Geely comes in and gives them a fortune and goes like, let's go make these cars. And actually, the only competitor of the R3X right now is something that Volvo has. So that's interesting. That shows you. I think what Rivian has done right now is they've established a design pattern, a brand pattern, and they've also established that people really like them, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about these R3X, and we think it's hot, hot, hot. So when you do that, you build a catalog for stuff that you're not making right away, because a lot of people are laughing at it, like saying like, oh, ha, 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 ha. There's not even a delivery date on it. But I think this is the catalog that you're showing Apple or anyone else so they can come in and become a bigger part of your operation.
I think it'd be interesting if Volkswagen Group bought them, because then they'd have Remots, they'd have Rivian, and they could take. It would almost be a Microsoft versus Apple thing, but it would be Tesla versus Volkswagen Group. Where there's the Tesla and then there's the non-Teslas, and they kind of form one big conglomerate.
I like that idea a lot. The only problem is they do have Rimac, right?
Yeah.
They do. Volkswagen already has that. Porsche, they share different things, and however you want to look at it, they're already tied by the hip.
But it could be their more entry-level platform. You know,
thing is,
Remots
Rivian-
is
the
millions, and Porsche is 100K plus, and then they could have their 100K and under.
On that, but then you have the ID series from
True,
VW,
true.
and they're gonna have like the what the hell is it called, Sergio? The van, the combi in the US.
Oh, the ID Buzz.
Yeah, the ID Buzz.
Yeah.
But what is it called before? Just so that I know what was the regular ones called? Do they have?
Oh,
The mystery machine.
They're just VW buses, right? Like the mystery machine. That's what they call it.
no, there's a
VW
name.
bus.
One sec.
Okay, Sergio will look it up. Thank God.
What about like Vitalik Buterin buying it? Some random crypto
I don't
having their own electric car.
No. I don't think that'd be fucking hilarious. But I don't think so. I think there's a lot of use. Like I said, Apple really needs this type of business, because
Yeah.
if they want to be the software of all automotive of the entire automotive industry, they kind of need their own car to be
Yeah.
able to, kind of like what Tesla's doing.
I thought it was interesting they backed out of their car program.
And this is what I'm saying. This is where it feels like they're trying for a reason. They're
Yeah.
not just trying because it's trendy to create a car. But either way, I'm not saying that Apple will 100% buy them, because I do think Ford, GM, whoever you want to slice or dice into the picture, those guys for real need guidance on how to make electric cars. And I'm going to tell you why. Donald Trump this morning came out, last night, he came out.
It's called the Combi, by the way.
Huh?
The Combi or the Transporter.
It's called a combi
Yeah.
in Mexico. Okay, so that's what it is, the VW bus. Donald Trump came out last night, and he gave us one of these arm gestures, right? This is something that he does, and then he talks, and he likes to say things. So Donald Trump told us last night, he went, there are too many electric vehicles sitting in lots that need to be sold, and no one's buying them. So he's giving you the idea that electric cars are just not selling. Do you know what's going on with regular or any kind of car except super luxury cars on the market right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of cars are sitting. And we were talking about pre-podcast is the cars that are sitting that are electric are just not desirable cars. I mean, Tesla can't produce Cybertrucks fast enough for the demand.
Yeah.
So if you make a product that's great, it doesn't matter that it's electric. People still want it.
Absolutely.
It's just when you make something that's underwhelming, like a Mach-E, you know, it's same as the Maserati Ghibli. Those are sitting there too because people realize they suck.
But and this is exactly that. So I wanna bring the attention to this because I can't remember when, but in my channel in Spanish, the one where I just talked to the camera about fucking bullshit, right? And on that one, I said, dude, they're going to come after the electric car hard. Right now, Ford, GM, like Ford, Stellantis, all of those guys have found out that it's pretty fucking hard to make an electric car and do it right. And there's a lot of money that's going to be lost, and there's a break-even point, but they don't even understand how to get to that break-even point.
It's interesting that when Tesla was like the only electric car company with any sort of success, I thought that just wait till a big company with a huge budget like BMW or Volkswagen Group comes into the mix and they did not perform the way I thought they did.
It's a
You
totally
know?
different thing.
Yeah, the Taycan has good driving dynamics, but the range was atrocious, which
Yeah.
made it a useless car.
Yeah.
And BMW is making these relatively straight. Like the new 5 Series electric car is weird as hell looking. Mercedes EQS shouldn't have never made that.
No.
It's weird. It must be way hard. I mean, it's like, I know I can't make it, but it's a lot harder than I would have thought it would be for a company with 100 years of history and billions of dollars behind it. To
No doubt,
create
a
an
lot-
electric car.
I think a lot of people thought, dude, this is a big company. They can just buy the batteries and
Yeah.
fucking assemble the car together, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's all about what makes you different, right? And also it's all about the production.
It seems like they're competing on who makes the ugliest car with the shortest range.
Also, which is insanity. Why can EQS, like the Mercedes, like all
Yeah.
of that EQ series or whatever Q series, I
Yeah.
think it's Q. The Q series, why couldn't you just give me an S-Class that's electric?
100%. That
What
would have
the
been great.
Fuck are you doing?
That's all they
And-
needed to do.
And a lot of people are going to say, well, you need to develop the new platform. So what? So you
Yeah.
need to develop an uglier platform than the one that you already have? That's crazy.
I mean, BMW did that with the i7 and the 7 Series.
That's right.
Basically the same looking car.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mercedes
it's
could have done
doable.
it. It's
Mercedes
totally
is retarded.
doable.
I'm sorry, Mercedes. I love you and I'm a fan of your Formula One team. But fuck, man, you guys are making the worst decisions in the world. So I think we can all agree that making electric cars is hard.
Yeah.
Like really hard. And people don't understand that BYD is so successful for two things. One, they sell a lot of hybrids. Two, there's a lot of incentives from the government. So the government is investing in them. So that means the government, like if BYD is producing a car that's $40,000, the government in China is like, we'll pay $10,000 so that it's $30,000. Like people don't understand the advantage that brings you. Whereas in the United States, our government hates Tesla. They fucking hate him because he doesn't want to bribe them. And that's just what they love and adore. And regular car companies thought, dude, there's no way this guy with a new tiny company is going to do anything. We're going to be able to do it better, but they're not.
Yeah.
So I think right now, having Donald Trump say stuff like that, which we don't care if you like Donald Trump or not. I think it's just what he said. That's the point. I think Donald Trump saying stuff like that goes back to my thesis of all of the American car brands are going to go against electrics because they realized, it's
Yeah, we
not as
can't do it.
easy as we thought. And this is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing attacks on all electric cars, and they're and to me the clue is whenever you're seeing something that's true, but there's another truth hiding behind it, it's bullshit. And the truth hiding behind the truth is, yeah, but there's also a lot of regular cars that are not being sold right now, that are just sitting at dealerships, that are like literally having to cut prices. Like the Jeep Wagoneer, there's like 30% discounts on them in certain areas.
That's not a bad car. I was in one a week ago. It's kind of
You
nice.
think it's good?
Look, I didn't drive it, but being chauffeured around a dinner and whatnot in the back of it, the third row is spacious. It's got some nice screens, but
Well, when you get...
it was on a rally. I'm not that fancy.
Okay, when you get...
There was like 20 people in a 6-person car. So let me just bring it down to
The reality.
the reality here.
The
Like,
reality.
4 people were on my lap.
Got it.
I was screaming.
Got it. So
Yeah.
in that scenario,
In that scenario, it was chill.
it was chill.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, all of that truth that gets hidden
Yeah.
is not being displayed, and it's showing right now that they just have intentions, that they just don't want the electric car to be successful. But more than the electric car, they just don't want Tesla to be successful. But also, here comes the reality of it. It is and will become cheaper for those who do it right to make an electric car than those who are making a regular combustion engine. We're talking about buying a car for a project that we have together. And we're saying, should we buy something with a motor or should we buy something like a Tesla? And the first thing that comes to mind was what about the Tesla?
Maintenance costs?
There's no maintenance cost.
Yeah.
Like it's cheap as hell. And a lot of people prefer that right now. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at for
Sure.
the car makers, because people do care about, like, why do I need to take my car every year to the shop?
You do hear the counter argument from EV haters that are like, well, in 7 years you're gonna have to buy a battery that costs $3 million. It's not the case.
But I
But
understand. Yeah.
certainly in the first 5 years or so, you're basically spending nothing.
Nothing
on the car.
And then, by the way, when your battery dies, because there's already battery recycle technology,
Yeah.
by the time the 5 years go by, bad news, it's going to be really cheap to get one of those batteries.
Yeah.
Right? So if you buy, this is what we used to joke with everyone on the channel, which was, you want to buy an old Bentley, one that's out of warranty, good luck. You want to buy an old Rolls Royce that's out of warranty, good luck. Like, all of these cars out of warranty, it's expensive
Yeah.
to fix them. So whether it's a battery or not a battery, the other cars still have many more components that can go wrong.
That's true. And a lot of these cars, they're realizing that, well, Tesla will claim you have to replace the entire battery pack. Other aftermarket service centers are like, oh, you
Can
need
do
to
a swap.
replace 2 cells.
Or the cells, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the technology is getting better and better for electrics and getting more sophisticated when it comes to fixing it, and
Sure.
also cheaper. So now I think that your traditional car maker, like Stellantis, Ford, etc., they're going to try to make a run at one of these companies that's doing things right, because they realize we can't do this. Their brand is not high end enough to be able to command an extra premium, like on the Ford. What's the Mustang thing? The Mach-E.
Mach-E, yeah.
Would you pay a premium for that car? No. Over
absolutely not.
No, they don't have the branding. And that's something that Rivian's done. So I think there should be, if there's no interest from Apple, there should be lots of interest from regular car makers
Yeah,
to acquire
I
them.
agree. Because they're
Especially
clearly
now.
struggling.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. Now we're talking about brand new cars. I want to talk about this one. I want to talk about the brand new Aston Martin DBS.
Yeah.
There's been spy photos of it, dude. How do you feel about Aston Martin in general?
They're really good looking, good sounding cars. For a while, they felt like that is way too expensive for what you're getting and it'll depreciate a lot. Like, I drove this DBS Superleggera, loved it,
Wow.
but for 380 grand, I don't know about that. But now they are coming out with some really good looking cars and then the performance to match. The DB12 I thought was really cool, but with this new DBS, it's going to be obviously similar styling, more aggressive, but with the V12. And that's what makes Aston's great, is that gnarly soundtrack.
Yeah. What do you
I'm
think,
excited.
What do you think about their car lineup in general and what Lawrence Stroll is trying to do with it? Because I don't know if you remember this, but like 5 years ago when we went to Saudi, Sergio and I went to Saudi, we were in this show where they were displaying all these different cars, like Pagani was there and all this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in one of them, they had the Aston Martins, the new ones. They had the Valhalla. I remember that the DB12, DB11, Vanquish, whatever the fuck it was going to be,
Yeah.
it was very different from what they're showing us right now. It had a very futuristic design.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the Vanquish looked more, from what I remember, more Valhalla, Valkyrie
Yeah.
type look to it.
So now we're coming back and the cars are landing and the actual design and the actual cars that really made it into reality are here. Number one, I think the DB12 is gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was driving with Belen through a parking lot that had a lot of them because they're storing the cars there. And the first thing she said was like, whoa, look at that purple car. And I was like, that's a DB12. She's like, I don't know what that is, but sounds great. I'm like, that's the new version of the car that you had. She's like, it's the most gorgeous car I've ever seen. And I agree. I think Aston's line is beautiful. Like, absolutely stunning. The interior thing, fixed. I feel like they've done a hell of a job with the upgrades, with the computers and everything that they're doing. How do you feel about the driving?
Well, I haven't driven the new DB12.
Okay, but how do you feel
Well,
about
I feel like I
even
haven't-
still
I-
the other ones?
Yeah, I haven't driven any of the current lineup, really. You know, I don't know what the Valkyrie is like to drive, or the
Yeah.
Valhalla, or I mean, I liked the way the DBS Superleggera felt. DBX, not the biggest fan of.
Really, I really like the DBX.
Yeah.
I thought for an SUV that was quite fun.
It
Like
was
the
cool. It
did
just
you
didn't.
drive a 707?
No, I haven't driven
Oh.
the 707.
That-
I've heard that's like not even the same car.
No. Big gap.
Yeah.
Big gap. Because the regular one's not that impressive. I agree. But I think to me has always been like these. They're loose.
Yeah.
And by that I mean you get in a Porsche, you get in a McLaren, you turn the steering wheel, the car goes like wherever
Absolutely.
you're pointing the car at. And the same thing with a Ferrari, right? But Aston Martin's a little bit more boaty, a little bit more relaxed within that vein, which leads them to compete with Bentley. But when you look at a Bentley, how do you feel about comparing the two brands side by side? Like, what do you think of the interior? What do you think of the exterior? What do you think of the driving?
Interior on the Bentleys, I think, have been better than Aston Martin.
Me too.
The exterior of the Astons are definitely more
Gorgeous.
exotic and sexier.
Yes.
Yeah, the Bentleys are a lot less about the sound and more about being smooth and isolation from the outside world.
Yeah.
They drive great for a everyday car, but even in their most exotic form, they're not super exciting.
Yeah.
But I think Aston has that more of, it's like Rolls-Royce is pure luxury and comfort, then Bentley takes this more sporty approach to
No doubt.
luxury,
Yeah.
and then Aston takes an even more sporty approach.
So
than that.
This is my problem with Aston because they fall like right in the middle of it. Because you have Aston, like you're saying, competing with Bentley in a certain way, right? You're also looking at Aston competing with Rolls-Royce in a certain way because it's a coupe that's luxurious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Aston is telling us, no. We're competing with Ferrari and McLaren because we have performance.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
How do you feel about that?
It's just not the same driving experience. I mean, like I said, I'm saying this without having driven the DB12, but I can
It's about the
I
same.
can guess what the DB12 would be like. The Ferraris and the McLarens are, like you were saying, laser sharp. They're really nimble. They're light. They're way lighter than the Aston Martins.
Yeah.
And they're more about the exhilarating driving experience than something you would drive every day and go to work in and look cool on Rodeo Drive.
Totally. And I think that's the problem with Aston Martin. It's right in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem that they have. I think, obviously, Valkyrie, gorgeous car, sounds amazing, blah, blah, blah. No one's going to have that.
It's interesting, though, because that is the opposite. From what I can tell, that's like the gnarliest, rawest car. It
Yeah.
feels very un-Aston Martin.
Yeah.
It just feels Aston Martin Formula One team. Yeah.
Obviously, because they designed it with Newey, but
Yeah.
Newey exited the project at a certain point, so Aston Martin finished it, so you cannot really call it a Newey car.
okay.
So let's go with that. But as far as like the everyday clientele cars,
Yeah.
we're stuck in the middle of this whole thing. And to me is the DB12, man, wow, the upgrades, the seats, the leather, the interior, the digital stuff, the outside, the front lights. The back is kind of like similar, but all of that other stuff is way better now.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm excited about the idea of the Valhalla.
I agree.
I wanted to put a deposit when they came out, but then I remembered that I don't put deposits down because the car never comes out.
Well, good call.
And it was a good call.
Because I think I saw them for the first time at, this might be wrong, but I
5
think
years ago,
Geneva 2018. That would
Yeah,
be
5,
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like latest 2019.
Yeah. No doubt.
And then it seemed like, wow, these are so sick. I can't wait for these to come out. And then it's been so long, you've almost forgotten about it.
So I called Ivan at Galpin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the GM of the brand, right? Like he's the manager, the brand manager at Aston Martin there. And I told him, dude, I want one of these cars. He goes, no problem. Just give me whatever deposit it is, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I go, no, I need you to do me a huge favor. Talk to the brand and tell him, put my order in. This is what I want. I can give you some money that you can take away from me and never give it back if I don't take the car.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving you a deposit because these cars never come out when they say, no, this is going to be delivered this because he's being told what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
Years later, we're still sitting here. I had another friend that called me that's a streamer. Shout out to you, Mo. And Mo was asking me, I want to get a Valhalla. Do you know anyone that can get me an allocation? I was like, dude, I'll talk to Ivan and Ivan can hook it up. So I talked to Ivan and I was like, Ivan, can you hook up my boy with this? And Ivan goes, for you, anything, right? And I was like, it's not for me, it's for someone else. So I was like, I feel like this is going to be a good synergy between you guys. If he wants the car, let him have the allocation that you have. He goes, let me look into it. So they're both happy. And Mo asks me, why are you not, like, do you like the car? I'm like, I love the concept of the car. I think it's brilliant. I think it's incredible to be able to have a Senna from Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Like, unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. Because he's an Aston Martin on top of everything, right? And he goes, so why are you not buying one? I was like, I'm not saying that I'm not buying one. I'm just not putting a deposit for one because I don't want to deal with the timing. And by the way, you put the deposit and then they'll take it away from you if you say something wrong about the brand, being in our position, right? And all that stuff. So I'd rather just pay the over when the car comes and shows up. I want to see how good it is. But in my personal view is Aston's promising and has us all waiting for all of the new stuff to come in and be perfect. And I feel like this brand new DBS that we're looking at, which, by the way, so Aston Martin test mule, there's a test mule that has been spied for the first time of the new DB12. This is what everyone thinks is the range-topping model that could adopt the Vanquish name too. It doesn't have to be a DBS. It could also be a Vanquish, which the Vanquish goes side by side with that name. And they're expecting to have a V12 in it, right? This is supposed to be a Grand Tour, but there are certain performance expectations. So they're saying that they're expecting at least over 800 horsepower out of this V12 and to compete with a Superfast.
Wow.
With obviously crazy suspension and all these things brought from Formula One. But now, are you interested in buying one of these Aston Martins, or still the other sporty cars are taking your attention? Where do you stand right now with this? I'm excited about the car. I had two DBSs from the old one. I had a DB11. Have I had any other Aston Martins? I think I've only had three. I think I've only had three. That sounds really ridiculous now that I just heard myself saying it. But I like the brand. I like the brand, but I like it more for my wife. Something that's super car-ish,
Sure.
but like very drivable, not very super car-ish at the same time. Do you feel like the new lineup that's coming up is making you more interested? And do you think you'll really want to buy one? Or are you putting yourself in the same position that you're in right now?
It's definitely a huge step in the right direction, and I think I'll have to see what the Vanquish DBS comes in price-wise.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it'll be high 300s, low 400s probably, and at that price, I would get a 812 Superfast, you know?
And that's the thing. What do you think Aston needs to do in order for us to go like, I want this? Should they stick more to the luxury side of the Bentley Rolls-Royce, or should they stick more to the Ferrari McLaren performance side? Because Porsche is also really good and very cheap.
Man. I think it'd be cool if they just came out with something that had more horsepower than it should and was more performance-oriented, because it's easier to quantify,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If it had, oh, shoot, it's a 1,000 horsepower hybrid, and it did 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds and whatever, and was priced competitively, then now we're talking.
I also think they should go in the direction not of the Bentley, not of the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
They need to go more in the Ferrari and those guys type of direction when it comes to performance and like crazy handling and like really getting that shit together without losing their beautiful designs that they have on the outside. Of course. Because you keep that along with this, you have a hit in your hands. But they need to pick a side. I think the only thing I'd say to McLaren is like, pick a side, dude. Don't be in the middle. Being in the middle never gets you anywhere. I look like everyone. I look Mexican. I look Middle Eastern. I look Jewish. I look white. I look Italian. I look Brazilian. This is not good for me.
Can't that be helpful? You could be anything whenever you want to be.
But see, now you're falling into their trap. It's easy for you to look like everything if you're escaping from something. But if you want to be your own man,
Okay,
and like,
fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to be the guy that walks into the club and all the hoes fucking go like, oh, wow.
Wow, max powers.
But I'm the average of all the miserable things in the world.
yeah.
So I'm not.
I think we're both going to have to be born again for something like that.
Well,
to
that's
happen.
the other thing. But I could pick up, like, you know how there's like really ugly guys with a lot of game?
Yeah.
I need to pick a side. Like, what am I sticking to? Am I sticking to my Mexican side? Should I have like something more open right here showing some
For
hair
sure,
chest?
for sure.
Do you understand what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I need an angle of attack. What is going to be Aston Martin's angle of attack? And I think it should be the sporty Formula One, Ferrari-like direction instead of what they're doing right now, which is just living it up like floating right in the middle of the road. looking like everything.
Because they have good manual transmissions. They should make something lightweight, manual, V12, kind of like, maybe not to the extreme of the Gordon Murray T50, but something of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like a purist car that everyone else is going this direction and Gordon Murray's going this direction, and to make them stand out from the pack. Instead of making a heavier, slower 812 super fast.
And I mean, you just said it right there. That's legitimately how I feel. And I think they're going in the right direction. I just want to see them more focused, because I legitimately think there's so much value in that brand, and they're just not going for it because they're in the middle. It's kind of like McLaren did with McLaren GT.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening there.
They don't even know. If you go to McLaren dealerships, they, because of what I do, and I've worked with some car groups in marketing-wise, they go, who do you think my client is? And I'm like, dude, that's something that the company should have told you. And they go, well, the company's asking us, who do we think the client should be? And we have no fucking clue. And which is, by the way, it's ridiculous. And it shows the lack of attention to creating a product when you make or the mistake that you made, right? Which is the McLaren GT is an everyday supercar, kind of like what an S-Class coupe used to be, if you will. But the thing is, it's not that comfortable like an S-Class coupe. It doesn't have like all the plushness of that type of car. It's not crazy fast, so it doesn't have the sporty side. And then, you made it comfortable, you made it okay. And now let's say that your whole game was like, but you want your wife to get into a supercar, like Ferrari does with the Roma or the Portofino or those cars. But McLaren was like, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to put a racing brake pedal on. Are you fucking out of your mind?
One of the problems was when it came out, they were saying it was a competitor to the 911 Turbo S and a Continental GT. But the problem is both of those have rear seats.
Yeah.
So instantly it's not a competitor to either one of those. And then McLaren kind of shot themselves in the foot because the 720S suspension is so good already that you could daily drive that car.
You can.
So, you get a little bit of extra trunk space in the GT, but they already had the 570 GT that had the side opening rear hatch.
So
yeah, I mean, I think they brought some new design language with that car. They added ambient lighting. They had the kind of chrome paddles that they brought into the new gen cars, but I would have skipped that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone did, and it's an in-between car, and it falls into that category, and I think that's why they can't sell it, and I think that car is going to be eventually discontinued.
Yeah.
You just can't go in an in-between window.
I agree. I mean, I'm a huge McLaren fan, and no part of me was like, I want that as my daily driver.
Like, if Aston Martin designed one McLaren, which one would it be?
Yeah.
The GT.
100%.
And that's exactly where McLaren falls, where Aston Martin also falls in this. Now, we're talking about Aston Martin. We're talking about Formula One in a certain way. I want to close with this.
Yeah, please.
Number one, have you been seeing what's going on with the Red Bull scandal lately?
We do have breaking news.
We have
gosh.
We have
I haven't
breaking
seen
news
that.
on the Red Bull scandal.
On the Red Bull scandal.
Throw
Before
it
we
at
get
me.
to it. A source close to Red Bull has told BBC that the team plans to...
Wait. A source close to Red Bull has told a big black cock?
Yes.
What?
That they're planning to suspend Helmut.
This is
Wow.
what I'm... Wow. So here you have it. Here you have it. And this, to everyone... So I'm just going to retell you real quick what was going on. We saw Dietrich, the original CEO, founder of the operation, died. There's a vacuum of power. When in a cartel, the cartel leader dies, what happens? Everyone fights to be the cartel leader.
I'm not too familiar with the situation.
You don't know the stories. You've never watched Narcos.
No.
God damn it. Now it looks like I work at the cartel. Excellent. Thank you,
kinda
Parker.
do.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So there's always a vacuum for power.
Yeah.
In any company where there is a guy that's on top and he leaves, there's always people fighting for it. Did you ever watch 30 Rock?
Yes.
Do you remember Jack Donaghy fighting for Mr. Geiss's job with Banks and all the other people? It's kind of like the same thing, right? So in Red Bull, there seems to be two sides. the Helmut Marko side, which includes the Verstappens, and also that lady claiming that Christian Horner was raping her or whatever at first. And then there's the other side, the Christian Horner side. And what we saw was like a full soap opera of Christian Horner being attacked and saying that he should resign because he's been molesting this girl or in some way doing something inappropriate. But there was no legal action. There's no real lawsuit. There's only an internal investigation, and there's information being leaked to the papers.
Huh.
Right? Doesn't sound too like.
It's interesting.
If I'm Christian Horner, I wouldn't be worried. There's no lawsuit. There's nothing other than an internal investigation by the team. And then that side of the team starts making statements. Jos Verstappen, which is Max Verstappen's dad, along with Max and along with Helmut Marko, you need to resign, dude. Like, you need to get out of here.
Max Verstappen said that too?
Like, they're saying, Max Verstappen is saying that if Helmut Marko doesn't get basically what he wants and stays in the team, he's going to Mercedes.
Wow.
And that's crazy. But
That is crazy.
there is footage of Toto Wolff, the principal at Mercedes, talking to Jos Verstappen, which is Max's dad, who represents Max, talking between each other. And then there's also Toto Wolff telling everybody, dude, nothing is out of the table at this point. Legitimately, we're contemplating Max being a part of Mercedes. And also, I know from some closer sources of people that I work with and I do this podcast with about Formula One, that the Mercedes conversation is a reality and a real thing. Like, that possibility is real as
These
hell.
people's names feel like not real life. I mean, you got Total Wolf.
It's
you
so
got
cool.
Christian Horny.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it's making it very exciting. Obviously, if any of the allegations are true, it's horrible. But certainly the drama is crazy.
Well, no,
Like,
because
I've never, has this happened in F1 where?
Not like this.
Yeah, this is
Because
wild.
F1 is totally against bad publicity.
Yeah.
Bernie Ecclestone, the guy that
Yeah.
owned it before Liberty Media bought it, used to be a guy that thought that drivers should not have social media.
Really?
Yeah, he said that drivers should not be famous, that they're there for the whole show, and it's not about them. Which we all know that that's completely the opposite. That's an old man.
Yeah, that's
billionaire
crazy.
doesn't understand. Yeah, that's the way he looked at it. So, long story short, there's this fight, and you can tell this fight comes from, and when some other rumors came out, they were saying that Christian Horner has an actual group of people, a group of investors, and they want to buy the whole thing.
Really?
So-
The whole of F1?
No, Red Bull.
Oh, okay.
So that's when it makes sense. Christian Horner wants to own the team along with Adrian Newey, which, by the way, Adrian and Christian are on the same team. On the other side, you have Max Verstappen and Helmut Marko with his Max's dad on the other side. These are the two sides battling
Sure.
it out. The Red Bull family and the Red Bull conglomerate, it's in the middle of this. We don't know who they're siding with. But when they attacked Christian, it didn't work out. There was no legal procedure. They dismissed it, and they were like, cool. And this morning, they were like, nah, we're going after Helmut Marko. Helmut now can open his mouth and say anything. They forbid him talking to the media, which is crazy. And now it's back against them because they're saying that Helmut is the one who leaked all of the fake bullshit that Christian
crazy.
was supposed to do. And this is all, in my view, just a vacuum of power.
Yeah.
Christian Horner wants to come in and buy the team with Newey, and they know that they need these two elements. And the Verstappens are saying clearly Marko, Helmut doesn't like whatever Christian wants to do with the team in the direction. He wants to stay in control and in that position. So it's a no. And I believe Helmut is using the Verstappens to get away with it, which is the craziest fucking thing. This is like a full soap opera.
Yeah, no, it's next level manipulation and drama at the highest level.
And by the way, you have the number one racing team right now in
Yeah.
Formula One. You've won 3
Falling
years in
apart.
a row. You're getting a fourth championship right now, and you're just letting this all go
Yeah.
with all this crap. Like you're tainting it. But whatever.
It's got to be giving other teams a better shot because the morale and the team spirit has got to be.
I actually think
Freaking out.
the move from Lewis Hamilton, I'm starting to understand now. Mercedes seems to be really back there, and Ferrari seems to be really at the head of this fight. So I think by next year, Lewis getting into that Ferrari might be the right time for them to actually win a championship, which is crazy.
That would be cool to see.
Crazy. And
That'd be
this
cool to see.
weekend, just so you know, just a real quick recap for you to know where we're
Yeah,
standing.
please.
We're going to Saudi Arabia. We're in Jeddah. So again, we're racing on Saturday because of Ramadan, right? Like you don't want to do it on Sunday. So we had free practice on Thursday. You had qualifying today, which is Friday. And then tomorrow is going to be the race. So pole, Max Verstappen. Second place, Charles Leclerc. Third place, Checo for Red Bull too. So they have a 1-3. Ferrari's in the middle. Then comes Fernando Alonso and an Aston Martin. Although Lance Stroll, his teammate, it's on number 10. So I think the Aston Martin has on the race a few places to go back down the ladder. And then you have the McLarens look very strong. Like very strong
And
right
what makes
now.
you say the McLarens are looking strong? I haven't watched any of the practice or testing.
The McLarens are putting way better times than everyone thought based on the first race. But what they were saying on the first race in Sakir was the McLaren, is not meant for that type of circuit. It's meant more for a high-speed circuit. And this is the second highest speed circuit behind I believe it's Imola, the first one. So that's why. And then you saw, so it's Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull, Aston Martin, basically McLaren, and then Mercedes and everybody else combined. So Mercedes is not looking strong. I do feel like Lewis left because he thought there's no way these guys are going to be able to develop the car. And so far, he's right. Yeah.
Could you imagine if Mercedes was like placing pole and he's like, oh no, I'm leaving this team right when they figured it out?
To me, that's the biggest mystery. Anything in Formula One can happen, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want the glory of of driving a Ferrari. That's what everybody wants. And by the way, this weekend, Carlos Sainz, which is Ferrari's driver, who's leaving now for Lewis Hamilton next year, had appendicitis.
Really?
So my guy was doing FP1 and FP2. He did both free practices with this shit about to
That's crazy.
explode inside of him. And he was able to do it and still like put some awesome numbers up there, like the speed. But you know what they did? They brought a rookie driver. And this is the first time since the 1970s, that Ferrari is debuting a driver for the first time in F1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, this is not like Charles Leclerc went to Alfa Romeo, and from Alfa Romeo Sauber, then he did the jump to Ferrari. Every other driver that's driven a Ferrari has made the jump into the Ferrari. This is the first time they're placing a rookie into this. He's Ollie Behrman, and Ollie Behrman, he's 18 years old. He's the third youngest driver to ever do it, I think, to debut in Formula One. So there's a lot of eyes watching him right now because you know he's going to be good. He did great in qualifying. He made it all the way to Q2. No one was expecting Q3 would be a miracle. He missed out Q3 by nothing, but he's there. And the other incredible thing about this kid is he got pole because he's competing in Formula 2 for the championship right now. So he got pole on the race. And in the middle of that, Carlos has to get emergency surgery. So he's like, dude, I'm starting on P1 right now. But they were like, yeah, you can start on P1 in Formula 2 or you can drive a Ferrari. And he jumped into the Ferrari right now. So this kid, lots of talent, lots to be looking forward to seeing him and his career evolve.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
think
cool.
what he's shown so far is incredible. So if people are just watching this for the first time, I think they should pay attention to Behrman, who promises to be an incredible talent in the
The
future.
dude's almost 18 years old. It's crazy.
He's not even 18 yet?
No,
he's 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a rule in Formula One. You cannot be under 18
Gotcha.
to drive a Formula One because of Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen did it at 16
Yeah.
and without a super license.
And why did they rule that he couldn't do that?
Because they were like, dude, a Formula One team can force the FIA to certify a driver to drive a Formula One car. Max did it when he was 16. He jumped into AlphaTauri and then they promoted him to Red Bull. But that's the only time, and it's called the Max Verstappen rule.
Gotcha.
No more. You need to have your super license or your super license points to be able to qualify and be able to get in one of these cars. And unless you have that, no way. Pato, for example, for a long time couldn't get like enough points for his super license. Now he's got it. Now he's the third driver at McLaren. So
That's cool.
yeah. That's really cool. Because now you see, like, now people are seeing it. Carlos Sainz had surgery, which I don't hope that anyone has the same type of problem.
Yeah.
But like, dude, Lando Norris gets diarrhea.
Yeah.
Pato's
he's in.
jumping in that car, dude. So let's go, Lando Norris diarrhea.
Tell him to go to Chili's.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
I'll add this. Paul, I'll give you my Grand Prix predictions, which, by the way, I got
Okay.
the last one right.
Nice.
And here we go. I'm going to say, and it's basically the same thing, the same way that they qualified. I'm going to say Max Verstappen's going to win the race. Charles Leclerc is going to stay in second. And Checo Red Bull is going to stay in third. That's my prediction. So let's see how I do right now.
Yeah.
Let's go. So thank you so much for this. 2 dudes, 1 car, dude. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Well, no, I'll see you in Parker's.
Yeah.
I'm going to teletransport you to the channel.